Welcome to the Tech Sharmit podcast, where technology is not just news, but the roadmap to the future. This is a space where we explore the latest tech trends, AI, startups, gadgets, and the ideas that redefine the way we think. Leading this conversation is Amit Sharma, globally recognized as Tech Sharmit. A technologist from Bharat, Amit brings an Indian perspective to the global technology landscape. With deep technical expertise and strong industry insight, and for his contributions and impact within the global tech community, he has been recognized with several prestigious honors, including Google Developer Expert, Microsoft MVP, IBM Champion, and Planet Mainframe Influencer. Through this podcast, he shares practical knowledge, real-world perspectives, and globally relevant thinking designed to help you stay ahead in an ever-evolving technology landscape. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the Tech Sharmit channel to stay updated with future episodes. And if you're looking to level up your skills, don't forget to explore the Tech Sharmit digital course book in the description box, where you'll find thousands of free programming courses curated to help you grow as a developer. So plug in your headphones and join us as we begin today's episode of the Tech Sharmit podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tech Sharmit podcast. Today I'm joined by another special guest, Jasper Duizendstra, who is joining us all the way from Netherlands. If I talk about Jasper, then he's an independent Google solution engineer, subject matter specialist, and a cloud developer expert with deep expertise in Google Cloud, modern data platforms, and generative AI. So today in this episode, we will talk about generative AI on Google Cloud, common mistakes with BigQuery and Gemini, evolving data architectures, and how the developer ecosystem is changing. But before we get started, I would like to thank Jasper for joining us today in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us a bit about yourself.
I mean, thank you for inviting me to the podcast. Well, you basically introduced me already completely. I'm an independent Google Cloud subject matter specialist. I've been working with Google stuff for ages, so looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah. Okay. So Jasper, let's start from the generative AI itself because you have good expertise on these areas and you are consistently working on it, right? So how are you seeing generative AI move from experimentation to the real business impact on Google Cloud, especially in 2026? How you are looking at the future?
Well, if I could see the full future, well, then things would be different. But no, things are crazy. Lots of stuff are happening, and your question is specific, like how are we moving from experimentation to real business value? I think from my perspective, it's a lot in the development ecosystem, and you can see things are now moving away from vibe coding. It's not called, now we're talking about context engineering. It's more like an engineering part. So it's difficult to predict like what's really going to be the business value, but I see it in the development, having the agentic systems help you with development of data pipelines. Mm-hmm. And especially anti-gravity that has been released a few months ago.
Yes.
That's for me, it's a game changer. Maybe I'll explain a little bit later, but for me, I see it that way at the moment.
Okay. And how do you see the people? Let's say, because nowadays we know that people are bit afraid of this technology as well, right? They are afraid of AI. They are resisting to adopt it. So will it change by the time when they are adopting the tools for their daily uses or something like that?
Well, it is hard. It is actually, if I look at myself, I've been working in IT for quite a long time, and the past 1.5, 2 years, my work has completely changed, and I'm completely. It's absolutely complete. And one of the things I see is I build a lot on the experience of the time I've spent so far. So I'm using AI to do stuff I already know how to do. So that's my perspective. But for example, for people that start fresh, it's difficult these days because AI can do everything for you. It's like using a calculator without knowing to properly calculate. Yeah. So yeah, I like that metaphor a lot because that's how I see it. It's like when you do calculus, you can use a calculator to speed up. But if you do 10 plus 10, we all know it's 20. We have an expectation. But if you do not have that expectation when you start fresh, it can be 200, and you're like, nah, that's okay. For me, that's vibe coding. I don't like that term. But to answer your question, how does it change people? You become an orchestrator of your tooling, and that's again anti-gravity. I'm sorry, anti-gravity does that part. It tells you like this is what I can do for you.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah.
And talking on the same metaphor you used for the calculator. So when calculator was introduced, so there was a very popular term that calculator never replaced the mathematician. So is it the same in case of for AI as well? Like it is not going to replace the jobs of the person? Or how do you see
Um,
it?
Again, difficult question because it's moving very fast.
Yes.
I always say, like, I expected the developers, people like me, to be the last one to be replaced. We're the first one, in my opinion.
Hmm.
And now, replaced is not the right tool. Right, be empowered by it, but not everybody follows that. Not everybody is also able to follow that. So it will replace some people for sure. And it is already replacing. It's also generating new work. You can see people suddenly people without any experience in creating app scripts, creating applications, doing stuff. On the other hand, maybe a little bit cynical, but there's also a lot of things that to be cleaned up, to be fixed later. Because well, if you make mistakes with your calculator, there are side effects or effects there.
Yes, so we can conclude that AI will not replace anyone, but the person with AI skill can replace. So you have to
Yes,
improve on your skills. You have to work on your skills so that you can be unreplaceable.
true. It empowers you. It accelerates you if you
Yes.
let it.
All right. And now we are talking about the adoption of AI. So what do you think? Like, what are the common mistakes developers commonly make when adopting the Gen AI models too quickly, I would say? So anything you witnessed so far that yes, these are the steps that they over go and adopt the things too quickly.
From my perspective, I'm a little bit old school. Like I would like to understand the technology, and I think still it's important. And I love metaphors, so it you can have a different perspective. It's about if you drive a car, should you understand the engine? Should you know what a clutch is? And
Right.
then suddenly you have the electric car. So does it really matter? So what's old skill, new skill? So in some way, I'm a little bit old school. In general, I think developers do not understand the LLM enough. Understand
Hmm.
what it actually is, what temperature means, what top P means. So what? So one advice, if I may, would be like talk to a raw LLM. Then the second part is they focus too much on the integration. For example, an LLM is not that good at replacing text. It's getting better. So sometimes you can get stuck in trying to replace specific parts of text. You say, hey, just overwrite the whole stuff or
Hmm.
use the large context window. So for me, the main things would be a lack of understanding of the underlying technology. So they don't understand why the system behaves like it does. Then the second level would be to focus too much on the tooling, too much on the integration, and too much on the new shiny toys. Hey, there's a new model. Let's move to this one. Hey, we have gravity again. That's one I think you should jump to. But
Yeah.
now cloud, now windsurf. So in that part,
Okay.
I hope that answers. Yeah.
Yes, it answers and it makes sense. Okay, so now let's talk few things on the behalf of data engineers. So how should you think the engineers rethink about the data pipelines? And in a very simple term, like what are the do's and don'ts if we talk about the data, data pipelines on the behalf of data engineers?
I think if you take a perspective from a framework, and that's again also an answer. Like AI, it understands frameworks, and
Mm-hmm.
it goes both ways. So if you use a framework, AI will understand you better, and you can also have AI explain the framework to you. And I'll explain two of them in this case. So, for example, the W5H1 framework, why, what, where, when, that framework, it works very well with AI. So with a data pipeline, you can leave the how something is built, more to AI and focus more on what is being built, and especially with data pipeline, why it's being built, what's the business value. So for me, it you have a shift to more to why you're building that. And as an engineer, I actually don't like that because I just want to build stuff. I don't care why we need to build stuff, but that's not real anymore. So my first advice is make sure that you understand the framework of that you're using, the W5H1. Why are you doing something? And the other thing is, what I notice is that the other way around, AI started to explain stuff, how they actually work. So AI actually introduced me to Data Vault. That's a data engineering framework, which I like very much at the moment. So I'm using that now. And the only reason I know about it is because AI said, hey, maybe we should organize your data that way.
Yeah.
So think in frameworks.
Okay. All right. So Jasper, now moving ahead, we will talk about another your expertise area, that is BigQuery and GenAI. So if we talk about combining these two things, like what's your take on combining BigQuery and GenAI, and where do you see the biggest win today in 2026 if we are combining BigQuery and GenAI? So what is your take on that?
I'm a bit biased, so I'm looking at very much from the developer's perspective. That's also why I look the Google Cloud. I like the Google Cloud a lot because it's very developer friendly. And
Yes.
BigQuery is the same. It's just there. It's a service that just runs. If you understand the model, it works very well. But that's more like how do you develop a pipeline with BigQuery, with AI, and use BigQuery in there. If you go another direction, like what can you do with BigQuery and GenAI? I'll
Yeah.
give a very specific example, but I think it makes a lot of sense. For example, if you have let's say, I got this from a demo from Google, by the way. If you have like a few thousand movie posters, you can put them on Google storage. It's very simple. They're images. And then you can say to BigQuery, like, this is a table. Then suddenly you have a table of a few thousand movie posters. And then within the same query, you can have an LLM analyze the movie poster and make that information from the poster. It gets the title, it gets the year, it can make the information from the photo deterministic, structured. So that's something that you can easily do with BigQuery just in the Google Cloud with one query.
Okay. Okay, before we move ahead, I just want to take one question on behalf of those students who are, let's say, from non-technical background, but they are interested into AI because nowadays everyone is talking about the AI and they have developed their interest into AI. So, what roadmap would you suggest for them to start with generative AI? Like how they can start learning it? Any particular material you would like to suggest, or anything? Any particular roadmap for them?
Um, Interesting question. Thinking about how I would start today.
Yeah.
First of all, old school. Go to AI Studio. Talk with the raw LLM. And I'm focusing now on the model itself, but this also is for ChatGPT or whatever model.
Yes.
And also understand the different types. Understand why Nana Banana Pro is such a different model now. Well, I'm not going into details, but understand the raw models, understand the type of engines, think car again. Then secondly, if you're an engineer, if you're an engineering direction, find a problem, find a project that you want to build and use AI to build it along the way and go from there. And the rest is watch the podcast, watch all the information out there. And it can be very detailed. I'm elaborating a little bit, but there's so much information out there. But for example, there was a paper from Apple about LLMs can't calculate. I don't know the exact title. Read those. It's so much information out there. But go back to the raw, experiment, and get your information. Get those three pillars right,
Okay.
and have fun. That's also important
Yeah,
these
that
days
is important.
with it. Yeah,
Right.
it is important.
Yes, because if you are not loving what you are doing, then it would be burden for you in
Uh,
the later go.
it, if I may, AI can burn you out. So be careful with that.
Yes,
There's so much information, so much fear of missing out. So stay real. That's also why you should get with a raw LLM. Then you see
yes,
how things change, and you can build on that.
correct. And we are using it, right? So any particular to task of your day-to-day life that where you are utilizing AI now, like have you adopted it, like, and for any maybe for writing emails or for something like that,
Um,
any use cases that you are
it's
utilizing?
scary. It's more the other way around. For what am I
Okay.
not using it? No, but that's not completely true. I still cook myself. Well, funny. Even if I wanted to make some dish, and I put an LLM there talking with me on live with what I was doing. But that's for me more an understanding. Where I really found value is research and
Research.
combining stuff. So for me, deep research is a very important tool. And just today, like half an hour ago, I'm working for retail, and I deep research like what is the common data warehousing naming for retail, ending up with some standardization documentation, stuff like that. But on the other hand, a few months ago, I wanted to rent an apartment. I also did that with deep research. So it's more like I experiment with it
Hmm.
and see what's what. I also try to understand the different use cases. Like Notebook LM is an amazing tool.
Yeah.
It's grounded. You can investigate. Like when I bought a house, I used that one to investigate the notary documents,
Hmm.
stuff like that. So, but mostly, what for me the mind blowing part is, I can confidently say that I'm not writing code anymore.
Okay.
AI is writing the code for me, and I'm orchestrating it. Another thing which I also use is I play around a little bit with the persona of LLMs.
Hmm.
One of the things I do often is not give it one persona, but give it a team of personas. So basically, I will talk to the LLM like, "Hey, your team, and you have like somebody that's responsible for the documentation, somebody that's responsible for the project management, and organize it exactly as a Scrum team." And that's again also fun to do, because then you can say, "Hey, Scrum manager, put a Scrum meeting."
Yeah.
One last example, and this is going a little bit detailed, is also that I have different LLMs open.
Hmm.
And in one LLM, I work on the infrastructure. On the other LLM, I'm working on the container, and they need to
Okay.
work together. But I'm handling that in two LLMs because of context, because of attention, because of scope. And then in one LLM, I said, "Hey, can you send a memo to the upstream team to inform them of the changes?" Actually, it's the other way around. So something in the container is changed, so something in the infrastructure need to be changed also. The container team writes, I ask that LM write a memo, then you get a nice memo, these are changes, copy paste into the other LLM. And that way I actually mimic what
Hmm.
anti-gravity is actually doing. And
Okay.
that's also a fun way to work with LLMs.
All right. Okay, so now Jasper, we will talk about Google Cloud Data Architecture, especially focusing on the year 2026, that now everything is rapidly changing and we are into new year. So maybe for on the behalf of organizations, or maybe as a developer who is starting fresh, what would be your ideal Google Cloud Data Architecture look like in 2026?
Well, for me, it depends on the use case. But for
Okay.
my specific use cases, I work a lot with small companies, and I like to do it full on the Google Cloud Platform native.
Mhm.
So ideally, I would use Cloud Run for the ingest. I think these days it's pretty easy to write a container that talks to AI API. Sorry, APIs and fetches the information to move it into BigQuery. So you have a running job in a Cloud Run that moves the information to BigQuery. Well, then BigQuery is for me the ideal place for the data to land. And you
Mm-hmm.
need to transform the data. Well, DBT is usually looked at. I like Dataform. Dataform is Google native, and it's easy. It's there. It's just Google native. And then if you move further, you can visualize the data because you move from data to information. And then the reporting part, this is still old school BI reporting. I think it's still relevant. You can
Mm-hmm.
use Looker Studio. If you move upwards to an enterprise level, you might want to change your ingest. You might want a platform to do that. Still BigQuery in the middle, but more like a lake house with storage, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Looker, you could move it to Looker Studio and Looker. Google and naming is not that good. So
Mm-hmm.
Looker is like the big brother of Looker Studio, the paid version,
Okay.
expensive, but it's worth it. So then I would say scale up. So for me, the point is start small with the native Google tools and then grow from there if you actually need it on an enterprise level.
Okay. All right. So Jasper, if we talk about your overall experience that you have contributed in different role, and one of your role is Google Developer Expert also. You are contributing as GD. So throughout your journey, how has the developer ecosystem changed over the few years? Like what all things you have witnessed that yes, these are the things that completely change for the developer ecosystem now.
Wow, changed for me a lot, but that's my perspective. I think in general, AI again, AI, and especially the last few days, it's very fresh. If you look at
Yes.
what the owner of Tailwind, I'm saying owner, I don't know the official term, but the person who runs Tailwind, what he wrote in Git, like his whole financial model changed. So open source, everything is changing overall. What has changed mostly is the tools we have, the AI that has worked. What has stayed the same is that it's still a very nice community to be in, both the Google developer expert community, but also the developer community as a whole. So events are still there. We still open to share. We still have a mindset that we would like to share what we build. So I'm happy that that stayed the same. I think the
Mhm.
business model and the way we work changes a lot lately because of AI, and especially the last few months.
Okay, so let's say just a hypothetical question. You are standing in front of all the developers of the world, right? And you have to give one piece of advice. So, what would be your top three strategic priorities for the developers? What advice you would like to share with them?
Ooh, um, top three. For me, it still would go back to the essence.
Okay.
See what it is. Like I explained with the LLM, go back to the essence. Keep
Mm-hmm.
it simple. What I see a lot, especially with beginning developers, they make beautiful constructions, like tens of layers of abstractions that are not needed. So keep it simple. I think well, Elon Musk, for example, he it's about leaving things out. Removing things is more powerful than adding things. So if you look at, I find that a very good example. Sorry for elaborating, but you can see those pictures of the Raptor engine. Like in the beginning, it's a very complex system, and then suddenly it becomes a very simplified machine that where a lot of things have been removed. So PD is essence. Combine it to framework. Framework is also like kind of organizing it, modeling it, the essence model, framework model. Then keep it simple and lost my chain of thought here. Keep it simple and leave things out. That make sure that you don't over engineer.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But
Okay, so
I would have a lot of questions if I would stand in front of that. Maybe that's no. Sorry, if I may adapt a little bit. The most this that was my top three, and then I have like the one that I tell every developer:
Mm-hmm.
ask the right questions. I think the most important skill of a developer is being able to ask the right question, and also and with right question that goes in so many ways. The right question, like um, if I ask somebody, a mentor, anybody, an interesting question, like I see a specialist and I want his or her attention. If I
Mm-hmm.
ask him like, "What time is it?" Just making something up, that person won't be interesting. But if I ask a challenging question, then that person will be interested.
Yes.
And if you are able to formulate that question, you can connect to experts. I've been doing that all my career, and I've learned ask the right questions, spend time on the questions, and also don't be afraid to ask questions.
Very
And
important.
it's kind of maybe not a joke, but sometimes if I want to trigger somebody, I tell them like, I'm I'm a very good Lotus Notes developer, and
Mm-hmm.
especially with younger developer, they will look at me, and then I'll wait a few seconds, and then I say to them, "You have no idea what Lotus Notes is, right?" Which is
Mm.
fine. Why didn't you? The fact that you do not know what it is fine.
Yeah.
The fact that you did not ask me, like, hey, you said something, and you should ask me at that point, like, what is it? I don't know it. Don't
Correct.
be afraid to say I don't know. That's something you learn after a while. But at that point, if you just stand there and watch and acknowledge, then that's not okay, in my opinion. So I do that sometimes to make a point. It's not that nice, but it works. It's putting something in your ask the right question.
Completely agree. And because particularly for developers, like if they know how to ask question, what is the right way to ask the question, then things would be very easy for them, especially for the knowledge gathering or requirement gathering. Because at the end you have to deal with your clients, you have to understand their problem. If you know what to ask, how to
Exactly.
ask, then you can understand the things properly, and accordingly like you can design your solutions. So that is very important thing for all the developers. Okay, so Jasper, although we can talk so many things on AI and the technologies, but we are short on time, so I just want to take my last question. And this is related to the support system because we all know that in everyone's life there is a support system. In fact, behind every successful person, there's a few person who helped you in their journey. So looking back on your own journey, who are those key people around you that had a defining impact on your journey so far?
That's a good one. There are too many to mention, and
Okay.
I'm approaching this from the technical part. Of course, obviously, you have your family, you have your friends,
Right.
and those need to keep you in check. And sometimes they need to tell you, like, "Hey, it's not all about work. It's not all about technology." Especially my sister sometimes, like, "Hey, stop talking about technology. There's something outside of that." Um, I would also like to get back to the ask the right questions. For
Okay.
me, one of the techniques that helped me a lot in my career was indeed, if I need to find something new, I had to learn JavaScript at some point. It was a long time ago. I had to learn it. Ask the right questions and find somebody that find a mentor. And support system is more like, okay, find a coach, somebody that will support you, but also find a mentor on your technical level that can help you work with that. And the last mentor I found was about data engineering, and still I was doing pretty well, but I was like, I need to get and I connected with the Google engineer on data engineering, and we're having great conversations. So for me, support, it's partly on the coaching part and on the mentoring part. And mentoring, find your mentors. That's really important.
Correct. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much, Jasper, for joining us in this episode and for making this conversation insightful for everyone. It was really a pleasure talking to you. So thank you once again for being a part of the show.
Thank you. Very nice to be here. Thank you a lot for this.